People, what's up, everybody? Chris and Chris here. Chris Griffin, Horns Down Podcast, and Chris Mason, Mr. Shoulders 360 himself. People, do us a favor before we get into anything. Like and subscribe. Do all those different things. Obviously, give a shout out to Jason, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason and the Coach, and all the other shows. Probably saw Jason earlier this morning, but people, we're here for a good time, not a long time. We are on the heels, basically just coming out right after the fact of beating Bama and at Bama. So that
Wait,
was
wait, wait, wait. Did we do that?
yeah, we did that. We did that.
I thought I've been listening to some podcasts, and it sounds like some national people think the turnover fairy sprinkled pixie dust all over the field, and that's why OU won.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, some people mad at our quarterback, some people mad at this and that and this. All I know is this right here. OU is 8-2 right now with a chance to go to the playoffs with 2 games left. People, I feel really good about our chances this week. I felt good about our chances last week. I told you guys that. I put that out there on the line. I think Missouri, you could put them in a lot of predictable situations, and God forbid they run Bo Prabilla out there. Not saying Bo Prabilla is a bad quarterback, but when he's coming off a dislocated ankle and you want to get his first game back against that pass rush,
Taylor Wynham killed that kid.
yeah, your defense would have to play. I mean, your offensive line would have to not play good, not play great. They'd have to play perfect football. That means mistake free, all of that. And I'm just not necessarily sure that's what's going to happen. Regardless, though, again, we are here because we want to talk recruiting tonight. Chris Mason. I think where we should start is just what have you heard as far on the recruiting trail, as far as what this Alabama win, not only to Tennessee, but now you couple that in with the Alabama win. How's that affected OU recruiting?
Well, I'll give you just two extreme examples. So the first one is Jackson Roper is a 4-star offensive guard for 2027 that's predicted to OU. He's been going around the country taking visits at big time schools. He was at Ohio State. He was at the Horseshoe, and OU coaches and the front office staff were at the game when the game went wrong. When it was over. They were FaceTiming recruits left and right and calling recruits left and right from Nick Saban Field, talking up the Sooners. So Jackson Roper is at Ohio State at their invitation, and he's talking to OU and raving about OU while he's at the Horseshoe while watching Ohio State, smash a bad UCLA team. So that's just one example. Then Kellen Hall is a 2028 5-star defensive tackle from Kentucky. He's been to an OU home game. He camped at OU this summer. Chris, he's now seen OU beat Tennessee and Bama in back-to-back games that he's gone to. So OU's thank you Tennessee and Bama for inviting him. So he's gotten to see our defense play 2 of their best performances in forever. They're calling recruits left and right. OU's got 2 huge visit weekends coming up. We'll talk a little bit about some Missouri action. And then for the LSU game, they've got even more kids coming in, confirmed official visitors to kind of close out 2026. So I've been saying that just win and you'll see the recruiting momentum. Well, beating Alabama on national television when national people were picking you to lose by 10 points and doing it in the way they did has obviously picked up attention for OU. And OU was already on a recruiting heater, which we'll get to in a little bit. And this isn't going to hurt. I mean, you've got a lot of folks' attention. A lot of kids are going to want to come to these last 2 home games regionally, in state. They're arranging as many visitors as they can. The Thanksgiving weekend makes it a little difficult for unofficial national kids to come in. They still have some booked, though, because some kids will have a break during that window. So some are coming in. Would have been nice if we could get a freaking night home game, TV people. LSU game. Because the Missouri game's always been an 11 a.m. kickoff. So everybody knew that. It's been known for months. So, but the LSU BS not giving us a home night kick is a little much. But all right, guys, whatever. I imagine they're going to either the Iron Bowl or the Vandy Tennessee game. I'm guessing in Neyland. So, yeah, Sooner Cowboys. KJ Ford is going to flip to A&M. I'm sure he's a really good kid, and I'm sure he could have a really good career. But who cares? OU's not recruiting him. They haven't bothered to recruit him. They haven't bothered to engage with the kid and try and bring him in. So, from that perspective, so that's just what it is. So, but yeah, it's Chris. We're gonna see as long as OU takes care of business, the momentum is just like it's like a snowball or it's a steamroller, right? Just keeps building momentum. We just took huge steps forward, 2 huge steps forward again, and maybe 3 steps forward in Tuscaloosa. You just can't go back a step, right? Just gotta, just keep moving forward. Big home crowd, big win against Missouri coming up, hopefully, and then you take care of business against LSU. I mean, the crowd should be psyched for the weekend. Our crowds for home games have been great. Prospective, prospects have mentioned that left and right, but it was huge. I mean, it's basically the brand that ran college football. You went into their house and you kicked their door in and were more physical and more clutch than they were. No one expected it, and they took care of business. So that resonates with recruits everywhere. Beating Baylor doesn't really resonate with recruits. Beating Alabama across the country, that resonates with recruits. I mean, it's just pure and simple. It's just a very simple, dialectic. Win big football games, get recruiting momentum.
Not only do you win, but you just show kids that, hey, this is still OU. You can win here. You can go pro. You can do everything that you want here that you could do there. Chris Mason, let's go ahead and jump into it real quick. Lead the way. I'll be right back, but lead the way. Silent commits. I know you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so we have a silent commit out there. Last week, I think it was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, Hayes Forsett posted his pony emoji on X, on Twitter. And then we got a boomer from Jim Nagy. So there's a commitment out there. So it's not 2026 because those guys are getting teed up for their official visits. And we'll talk about one name coming up that's going to officially visit from Missouri, or at least I believe he's coming in from Missouri, unless things have changed. So this is a 2027 kid. And I'm not going to ruin anybody's moment here, but I got 3 names for you, and all 3 names should excite you. So the first name, who it could be Tavon Epps. He's predicted to OU by a number of big-time recruiting analysts, including Greg Biggins, who is the best guy on the West Coast, has been for the last 20 years. And you've heard me talk about Tavon Epps on this show and on my Wednesday podcast. He's 6'4", 6'5", 220. Is high-end comp with his ability to rush the passer and disrupt the passing game, and by dropping back in coverage. The high-end comp would be someone like Mekhi Parsons, the Dallas Green Bay linebacker. That's
Micah Parsons. Yeah, there you go.
That's the high ceiling. But he's from Tustin, California. He dumped. Yeah, Jimmy, I've heard him say that too. But kids aren't always kids. Sometimes kids are the silent commit and will tell you they're not the silent commit. Because if they weren't, they would just say, "Yeah, I that's me." So maybe it's not Tavon Epps, but he's one of the guys that it could be. Again, he's an outside linebacker, defensive end. OU could use him a number of ways. It would be like, it's like giving Batman extra toys on his utility belt if you gave this to Brent Venables with the way he schemes and plays defense. That's what this kid would be. So if it's not him, it could be Michael. I hope I'm saying that right. Michael Davis from Arizona, cornerback, nickelback, 6 foot 175, and I'll throw this out here: the high end comp that I see when I watch his junior mid-year film is we're wallowing in vaunted, hallowed territory here. He looks like Derek Strait to me. He's just that good in coverage, that good in run support. He tackles so well, and he just makes play after play after play. I wasn't sure that I wanted OU to get this kid because OU's cornerback recruiting is going crazy right now. There are literally 6 cornerbacks they lead on the Rivals RPM system. Two of them are younger brothers of guys either on the roster or going to be on the roster. And then you've got a couple of guys. The third guy who it could be, the commitment could be, I'll get to him next, is another cornerback, Juju Johnson from Long Beach Poly. He's supposed to be at the LSU game. There are lots of rumors flowing around that OU leads on him. He's an elite-looking kid. So basically, I've given you 2 top 100 defenders who it could be, and then another guy who I feel like he's like a top 300 guy right now. I think he belongs in the top 100 based upon his junior film. But so we got 3 guys it could be, Chris, and all 3 of them I think OU leads on, and I think all 3 of them will end up in OU's class at some point, and they're all 4-star, elite-looking defenders.
Interesting. Who would you be excited about the most if we can land one of those 3 kids?
Probably the Epps kid, just because stealing him from Texas and then watching him terrorize Texas for 4 years would be pretty damn sweet.
Yeah.
That just that extra bit of FU Texas element to it. It is the Horns Down podcast, so I figured you would appreciate that.
Oh, I definitely appreciate that. That is singing sweet nothings to my soul right now. Let's move on. New predictions to OU. That's the next topic.
Yeah, so Taven Epps, Michael Davis.
Okay, we lost Chris Mason. What is going on? There he is right there.
All right, let me see if I can get rid of that. All right.
You're good.
Beside Mickens, the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania running back, top 200 guy, running back, really good. I love his film. I'm having a hard time coming up with a Sooner comp because he doesn't quite fit the guys we've had lately. Looks like he's leaning to OU. We just need to get him on campus for the LSU game. And I think he will commit to OU shortly after that and sign shortly after that on December 3rd. And always need running back depth. This year proved it again. It always happens.
That's the kid from Penn State, right?
Yeah, the kid should decommit from Penn State. Yeah, I don't think he's going to follow Franklin to Vatek, and Penn State doesn't seem to be making any progress on a hire.
Mm-hmm. No, I think right now all eyes is on the SEC. All eyes are on Kiffin. Excuse me. That's all eyes are on what does Kiffin do, because that could shake up things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So those are the predictions right now to OU. Jackson Roper is an old prediction to OU, and Crew Jones is another old prediction to OU. Crystal ball. So Chris, we have 6 commits for 2027, and we have 5 guys projected to OU as well. So OU could be at 11 commitments by, I don't know, New Year's Eve.
Wouldn't that be grand? You're already walking in there, just waiting to get to the next
And Crew
receiver, right?
Jones is a top 100 guy. Jackson Roper's a top 200 guy. Epsby top 100. Juju Johnson top 100, and Michael Davis top 300. But I think he should be ranked higher than that.
Yeah.
So you'd add two elite defensive front four guys, and then you'd add three elite looking secondary pieces. So, and another offensive lineman, giving you four offensive linemen already for the class, two interior, two tackles. So that's where we could be. For 2026, the big news it's 2027 for Missouri. Let's get these guys out of the way, not in a kind of an annoying sense, but just a sense. So, Chris, we have two quarterbacks visiting this weekend. We have 2027 kids. OU has no active 2027 offers out there. And we've got two kids coming in. The first is Dane Weber from California. I've talked about him on this Q&A before. About 6'1", 6'2", 210 pounds. His most recent game in the California playoffs, he went 24 of 31 for 360 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then he had 10 rushes for 106 yards and an additional 3 touchdowns. So either played a really crappy team or the kid's kind of balling.
Mm-hmm.
The other name that just got announced, this has been previously a name that was only sort of on Sooner Scoop. Now it's gone public on Twitter/X, is Jamison Roberts from Alabama. He's a bigger kid. He's like maybe 6'3", 6'4", 210 pounds. Really mobile. His stats so far this year are he has 2,500 passing yards, 28 TDs, rushing yards 541 for 17 TDs, and completion percentage of 75%. So there's a lot. So, Chris, I think Weber's the more polished kid right now,
Mm-hmm.
but Roberts may have a higher upside, and they're both just juniors. So, I mean, I think some of the problems we've been seeing with some of the hotshot 5-star quarterbacks flaming out is because maybe we're not waiting to see how they look their senior years. We're just evaluating them too early, and we're not getting a full picture on them and how they're performing. So
That and a lot of them they're one read. They're one read quarterbacks. I mean, let's just be real. I talked to, when I was talking with Ty one day, Ty Hayes, Around the Table Sports. Shout out to him. Obviously, he's made a little bit of a resurgence coming back. The guy's been busy, but Ty, I asked him about the kid that I thought would be starting, the Davis kid up there at Michigan.
yeah,
Who,
yeah,
yeah, at Michigan, you ask about Jackson Normal. He even said Ty Simpson in those first couple of years when he got here. He said a lot of the issue with a lot of these kids, these quarterbacks, a lot of these 5-star quarterbacks, they're one read guys. They don't know how to necessarily go through all their progressions. They struggle with that, and that's something that you have to do at this level to play at an elite level. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's not necessarily the most difficult thing to do. You just need time. Time should be your only problem. But when we talk to you, it's just like that's not what's going on. So it definitely begs you to wonder. But, I think with this Nagy approach now, at least for me, I think that's kind of where I'm at now. Not necessarily chasing stars, but just chasing, okay, who has the best looking film and who looks like a kid that could actually contribute? Because I think that's what you're recruiting now. You're not necessarily just recruiting depth pieces all the time anymore, or kids that even just fit your system. I think you're getting the best players that are available off the board, and you're going to figure out who can contribute right away, or who's a guy that, hey, we don't have to have him contribute right away. We can get him to learn everything, get him in our system, and get him polished. That way, he can get on the field. You get what I'm saying? That's kind of where
yeah. And I think OU's doing a lot of that with this recruiting class. They're IDing guys that they feel like will have a low NIL number,
mm-hmm.
have a sky high potential, and they can let develop for a year or two, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't have this money sitting fallow on the sideline, right? You don't have all this cash sitting on the sideline. You've got guys developing who have high ceilings. I mean, this would be the Taylor wine process, for lack of a better term, to give us the example of how ideally it should work, right?
Yeah.
You don't spend a lot of money on him from an NIL perspective. He's a 3-star. You scout and evaluate better than the other folks in the college game. He redshirts. He plays. He plays as a monster on he plays on special teams. He's a monster on when he does get in the game. Thinking back to his was it a double personal foul when he
Yeah.
played as a freshman? And then, like as a sophomore, he's hitting the field and he's doing everything you want. So that's kind of one way to look at it. So the thing about Roberts is he's like I said, he's 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds. He plays for Saraland High School in Alabama. Texas took a kid from there 2 years ago at quarterback who was a smaller kid, like 5'10", 5'11". Not sure if he's still around on the Texas roster or not. But Chris, there's some juice to this kid on his film. Like it's not as clean as Weber's, but there's some, especially when he has to make something up. There's some juice there. It'll be interesting to see if one or both kids ends up getting offers from the Sooners, or if the Sooners decide we want to see more film. We want to see how you guys finish your senior year, see your junior year, see how you finish the playoff runs that you're on. And just take a little time. Don't be in the mad rush that I've kind of wanted OU to be in at the quarterback position, because maybe you wait and see if Peyton Houston doesn't like who they hire. We'll see what happens there. Jets are supposedly landing in Baton Rouge. Tracking jets of the Kiffin family is supposed to be in Baton Rouge. Florida thinks they're hiring him tomorrow, so we'll see. They both can't hire him.
So before we guys, we'll talk just a little Missouri at towards the end. But real quick, Chris Mason, are any other kids coming this weekend to the Missouri game?
To the best of my knowledge, 2026 edge from Indiana, Dane. I think it's Bathurst. I think I have that right. Let me double check the last name. I hate getting names wrong. Yep, it's Dane Bathurst from Carmel, Indiana. He's an edge rusher, but OU's looking at him. Nate Dreiling is the guy that made the offer and is his primary recruiter. So OU is going to try, I think if they can get a verbal from him, they want to try him at Mike linebacker, because he brings a lot of athleticism and a lot of size to the Mike linebacker position. If you guys have been following these Q&As, you follow my pods, you know I'm a little, let's just call it, I'm worried about Bo Jandro's injury history in high school. I also, when they got Bo Jandro's verbal, kind of concerned about his size, weight, height kind of stuff. He's 5'11", 6 foot maybe. And OU has been playing, OU's Mike linebackers under Brent are big guys. I mean, Stutz is a big guy. Kobe McKenzie's a big guy. Sam Musigo is not a small person by any stretch of any imagination. So I would like for them to add another linebacker to the class, and just as a backup, they got two Wills in Ja'Cory Smith and Jacob Curry. So if they could get Dane Bathurst and get a verbal from him, I would like the idea of a big Mike linebacker who they could develop. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, you just move him back to edge. He's got really good edge film.
I got you. All right, going through the questions real quick. Just seeing some questions in here. Obviously, I think two kids that we definitely talk about the wide receiver position in the 26 class. You've seen Allen's name, obviously the Louisiana kid, a receiver that we have, and then obviously I think Pettit. So go in that order. Obviously with the Allen kid, as soon as Cowboys say he shut down his recruitment, and he will be a Norman for the LSU game. So better win that one. So I guess my whole thing is that he's flirting with LSU. I mean, let's just be real. It's a
Well,
Louisiana kid.
they're flirting with him. They want
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I mean, they're both flirting with each other, but I mean, it's just one of those things. Is he's a Louisiana kid? Those kids go and play for the school. They don't go play for the coach. So the whole thing is kind of just where we at on that one. And then as soon as you get done with that, roll into the petty stuff.
Okay, so Allen went to the game. I can't imagine he was overly impressed with whatever LSU rolled out against Arkansas, but maybe he was. With a coaching staff that probably is about to get completely turned over, or at least mostly turned over. So they offered him. He was asked. He wanted that offer. I honestly thought that a flip to LSU was about to happen, but he has shut down his recruiting. He's gone publicly on Twitter and said this, that he's shut down his recruiting. He's 100% locked in with OU. And I imagine as long as his plans don't fall through, he'll be at the LSU game to watch OU. So that looks like that situation has normalized. I don't know what it's taking to get Jaden Petit to flip from Wisconsin. Wisconsin's obviously playing a little better defensively now that Fickell has gotten the vote of confidence, the dreaded vote of confidence from his AD. We're not going to fire him. They're still losing football games, and they're still doing it in unimpressive fashion, and their offense is still a disaster. So OU's still pushing that, still pushing to flip him. I think it might take kind of like a signing day eve, kind of one last big shove to just get him to flip, sign with OU, and I think it's obvious he's having a hard time telling Wisconsin no, either because of the bag or the relationships he has with the coaches. But really, his if you follow Twitter follows his mentor trainer has been featured in like a couple of interviews lately. Well, the two most recent follows by the trainer were Emmett Jones and Jim Nagy. So maybe we're in the final negotiating phase of this flip.
Quite possibly.
So
I would love to have a kid on board, but I'll say this right here: you definitely you need a kid like that, but you definitely got to go out there and help out with playmakers. I think that's kind of where I'm at with the offense right now. Sooners for Life, he says, who pulled the California running back, DeMarco Nagy. Real quick before you say that, guy, get some love to Stevie G. Stevie G had a comment up here asking, can we keep the Stacy guy that's on our staff right now from Cali? Can we do that? But yeah, Chris Mason, go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep Stacy Ford. There's no salary cap for promoting the guy and giving him some more responsibility and some more green. He's done really well. He obviously left the UCLA situation because he knew that was heading down that was heading into the dumpster. Obviously, Nagy gave him a competitive raise. Hell, he could have taken a demotion from UCLA and gotten a pay raise at Oklahoma, Chris. That's entirely possible with the way that the staffs are being run. I don't see Jim Nagy wanting to. I don't see Jim Nagy losing Stacy Ford anytime soon. Maybe somebody offers him a GM job, like a real football program offers him a GM job, and you lose him then. And I think you accept that, move on, and go find the next Stacy Ford. Because that tells you that you can go work for Jim Nagy and then become a GM elsewhere. So that's the best. Promotability is, advancement and promotability are attractive recruiting mechanisms. Anybody in the business world will tell you that hey, I need a GM, and I think a West Coast guy makes a lot of sense. So I can see OU repeating that. But yeah, they'll do everything they need to do to keep Stacy Ford, presuming they're not going to stand in his way if he's going to if someone like Penn State, the new Penn State coach, says, I want you as my GM. Well, they're not going to stand in the way of that. But he's not going back to UCLA, and USC has a guy who's doing pretty well. So I don't think A West Coast, a move back on the West Coast will do anything. Oregon has a guy, and nobody else on the West Coast has any kind of NIL budget. So why would you leave? You're on mute. You're still on mute.
He says, I think us getting Allen depends on who and when LSU hires their coaching staff.
He definitely could go that direction. I mean, we could see let's say they get Lane Kiffin and they sign him the day after the Egg Bowl. Maybe, but I'm not sure Allen's going to be Lane's first phone call. And I'm not sure that they have time to get that done. So it's going to be really, I mean, with the signing day being so early, if you're signing Kiffin or obviously Vatek has got Franklin in, and so he's got a running start to keep some kids and poach a bunch of his Penn State kids if he wants. So they've got a running start there, but if, he's not, Kiffin's going to be, it's not going to be like, it's going to be like 2-3 days after the Egg Bowl before he's announced somewhere, and we're already going to be in signing day. So, that could happen. He could decide, I'm going to wait to sign to see who LSU's coach is, and OU could say, well, we're sending you papers today, sign or, hasta lasagna. So, that's something OU could do. Well, we'll see soon, Cowboys. We'll see what happens. Florida people think he's going to Florida. So it looks like Ole Miss. This is going to be fascinating if he leaves Ole Miss before they go to the playoffs. And if I'm Ole Miss, and there's all these rumors that Ole Miss is like giving him an ultimatum deadline, it doesn't sound like Ole Miss is interested in letting him coach the playoff game, which is a very weird circumstance. If I was Lane, I would tell LSU in Florida, I'm coaching my team through the playoffs. If you want me, you'll wait until January.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I've heard OSU has been given a few coaches kind of a deadline, like a week timeline. These are coaches that are still coaching for potentially a playoff spot. And you're sitting there just like, what? But anyways, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
It says, could we lose Rodgers to Vatek since Franklin got picked up?
He seems extremely locked in with OU. I don't think he was that interested in waiting on Franklin's decision, because if he was, he wouldn't have visited OU quickly, verbally committed so quickly, and then closed down his recruiting. I mean, he could be visiting other schools right now, and he's visited OU and has just shut everything down. So I think he wanted to find a home, wants to find a place to sign and roll early and get going on his college career. So I don't see him wavering on this, and he doesn't seem to be wavering along anything on those lines.
This is a good question right here. Do we really think that Kiffin would bolt with a team in the playoffs? If I was a player, I wouldn't want to play for someone who bounced during us still playing. I mean, hell, kids still wanted to play for Riley, and I think, I don't know if I can speak for Chris Mason on this, but it kind of feel like, we kind of threw that game, FBI, if y'all want to, give the NBA a rest and go look elsewhere to, go to Southern Cal. Anyways, I digress. All I'm saying is this right here.
It was a weird, I'll tell you definitively, it was a weird preparation week in the Switzer Center for that OSU week. It was a very weird week. But yeah, I think it's a great question. We are in uncharted territory here in terms of this situation, because when DeBoer left Washington, Saban had already left. Saban left in late January? And DeBoer, his team had already, I think, lost the championship game by the time he left Washington to go to Alabama. So we don't have any precedent for this, because LSU and UF are are chomping at the bit to hire Kiffin and get a commitment from him. The only thing that looks vaguely similar to this, and this is a bad example, I'm not even sure I can get the names right. Michigan fired their basketball coach who said he was leaving to go somewhere else. Bill Frieder, I think was his name. And the assistant coach took over for him and like led Michigan deep into the NCAA playoffs because the AD at the time, who was Bo Schembechler, who was a kind of a jackass AD, said, "I want a Michigan man coaching Michigan in the playoffs." So I don't know what you would do. I don't know if there's someone to. I don't even know who the assistant is under Kiffin that has the gravitas to coach that team in the playoffs. So I think if you're Ole Miss, I think emotionally you want to say tell Kiffin to, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But logistically, do you let him coach Ole Miss? Ole Miss is barreling towards a home game in the playoffs in the first round of the playoffs. Do you let Kiffin go? Do you let
Miss Mason, let's back up just a little bit. I mean, you got to answer the question first before you go down that route. Like, I mean, do you even believe Kiffin is gone?
Yes, I do.
You believe he's gone? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
believe him. I don't know where he's going, but I think he's gone. I think his agent is probably playing the two schools off each other, looking for the best deal. I mean, that's what agents do. But I think he's had every chance to sign an extension at Ole Miss and say he's not going anywhere, and has not done that. So why are you not doing that? If you're staying, do that. Enhance your recruiting, enhance your NIL, get the commitments you need from Ole Miss, get the money you need from Ole Miss, and move on. So the fact he's not doing any of that and he's letting this situation fester and increase, and there's leaked ultimatums and BS like that. His family's in Baton Rouge looking at property apparently or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean his family doesn't go to Gainesville next week and look at property. I just think if he wanted to shut this down, he could easily do this, and he just hasn't. So I think his agent's working on the best deal. I think he's working on the best deal from that perspective, and maybe he's using that to get a bigger payday out of Ole Miss. That's what agents do. So, but if you ask me, my read on the situation, yeah, I think he's leaving them.
Topher B says Florida would be a better fit for Lane in his opinion. So I think Kiffin is gone too. $14.79 million reason why. So why Florida? Yeah, man. I mean, it's just he fits the culture either way of those places, because I think Florida is begging for a coach to come in there and kind of get their swagger back, that Spurrier type of swagger. And I think, for better or for worse, even with Coach O brought back something that LSU hadn't had in a while, which was just that swagger of like, we know we're good, we're just one coach away. Obviously, they put a hell of a staff around him, but at the same time, just the players they got that season being so historic, national championship, all the rest of that and the third, that I mean, it's I just think Kiffin fits both modes. If you go to, I'll be honest with you, the Brian Kelly thing does not bother me if I'm trying to go there to be the head coach. I think what would bother me is like, hey, are you guys able to give me a legit 2 to 3 years to get this thing back the way it needs to be? Because let's just be real. I think I'm not gonna say Brian Kelly wasn't recruiting. They were recruiting at a pretty high chip, but at the same time, I think Kiffin would probably say there's still some kids here that probably don't need to be here. But every coach can say that coming in, right? But going to Florida, you probably have a better already made type of product, but because I think that Kiffin and Lagway would do magic, would do wonders together. But you know, that's kind of where we're at, right?
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean if you can't win at LSU, you're just incompetent as a coach, right?
Yeah,
I mean, talent just falls into your lap onto campus, and it's the best, probably the third best talent pool in the country, so to speak, right? So, or third or fourth best talent pool in the country, depending upon your viewpoint from where you are. And you can argue about that. So, yeah, I from a recruiting standpoint, yeah, you don't worry about getting the talent into LSU, but you do need to develop it. It's a little bit of a mess right now, as you said. UF has a lot of talent. I think they're losing quite a bit to the draft and elsewhere. But you do have Lagway, and you can maybe convince Dallas Wilson to stay, and the Preston Wilson kid, and you find a running back, and they got good pieces on their defense. So maybe better skilled, maybe better actual prospects on defense than LSU has right now. So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. It's if Lane leaves, and one of the reasons why as an OU fan you got to pay attention to this a little bit. We're playing Ole Miss 4 years in a row, so anything that disrupts what Ole Miss is relevant to the Sooners.
it's true. That's
I mean,
true.
because we got to play them 4 years. If they lose Lane and then bring in someone who they think is going to do a great job and things sort of fall apart, that makes OU's three teams from the three permanent SEC teams. That changes that perspective completely.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And Lane seems to have Brent's number a little bit. I think that's probably the exaggeration to a certain degree, but he certainly beat OU 2 years in a row.
Look at this. No, Kyle. I'm sorry, Kyle. I think it would kind of be all or nothing. You would kind of be waiting on to see if Chambliss and Austin Simmons would go with him.
Well, Chambliss has no more eligibility.
Yeah. Oh, this is last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
He's
thought.
done.
I thought he had maybe one more year.
He's done. He's done. Joey Aguilar, done. So both Tennessee and Ole Miss and LSU basically looking for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In the portal looking for quarterbacks or ready to promote Austin Simmons if you're Ole Miss and ready to promote one of the guys behind Aguilar.
I think in Lone Wolf, this is a good comment because it's a gateway comment for so many other things to happen. Simply because here's the thing, guys. One coach leaves a school and goes to the next, and then what? His job is open as well. So you got to. I think I'm really interested in that side of it as well.
Because it could be it's like a bomb. It's like dominoes falling, right? All of a sudden, there's an opening that you didn't anticipate. A good job, like I don't think he's going to do it, but let's just say Dillingham took the Ole Miss job.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who's taking Arizona State? Okay. Well, let's say they pull the kid from Oregon. They pull Oregon's offensive coordinator. Well, Oregon loses their offensive coordinator during the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how does that impact them? If OU had to play Oregon in Norman or in Autzen, but Oregon is without Will Stein and they've lost their offensive coordinator. How does, I'm saying that there's some trickle effects that could impact the playoffs greatly, right? Like the UNT guy, Eric Morris, right? I have that right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's up for a promotion, right? But UNT it looks like they're going to be in the American. They could be in the American Championship game if they just take care of business against. I think it's Temple and somebody else who's not very good. And he could win that game, and then UNT could find themselves in a college football playoff. And is he going to leave UNT to go to OSU to get to OSU early? I would tell OSU, if you want me, wait. Golish, I think they just dropped that Navy game, right?
Yeah.
So I think Golish is free. But all these things have like recruiting influences, right? If big names are leaving, that puts players maybe that and portal wise, it could create the big portal buffet, right? Like, oh God, from that perspective. So yeah, so if you're OU Win 2 games, stay out of all of this nonsense, load up on the flips you want to get, load up on the 26 kids you want to fill your class, and move ahead with stability and momentum with 2027 kids.
That's what you.
Brent can honestly say, I'm not going anywhere. This is my dream job. I want to retire at OU. I'm going nowhere.
That's where I'm just glad we're not in that hunt. People, real quick before we jump up out of here, because we've been out here for 45 minutes, Chris Mason. Hey, look, first initial thoughts. Looking at Mizzou. Mizzou's a good team. They're a solid team. I hope they don't run Prbilla out there with that dislocated ankle. I'm not just being cocky about our pass rush or this and that, but it just doesn't. It doesn't. Think about your season next year because that kid has been good for you all year. So you got to think about longevity opposed to just the here and now, right? 3 losses, whatever the case may be. I don't think that you're anywhere near probably making the playoffs. Maybe you have
They
a
don't have
couple.
even if they spoil last season. They don't have the wins to get in.
Yeah, but people just just real quick, just when you watch them, gotta talk about the Texas game. Unfortunately, that's how they like to run the ball. To me, like I was explaining to my uncle, it's kind of a I forgot which NFL guy. I mean, obviously, a lot of running backs do it, but this guy was doing it so prominently. I think he played for like the Chiefs before Mahomes got there. Played for somewhere, but the jump cut
Priest
basically.
Holmes? Is he Priest Holmes?
I don't know if it was Priest Holmes, but regardless,
Okay.
though, the guy basically what's going on with this Missouri run scheme with this wide zone or whatever the hell they like to call. Um, at least when Zoller's in, especially, they run a tight formation and running this and that, but they slide left, they slide right, and I mean the entire line will slide. And basically, you have to play assignment sound football because you have to cover up that back end. Because if you go and watch the Missouri State game, that's where he got all his yards. Both of those backs, Roberts and Hardy, they're just bouncing. They're doing jump cuts, little side jump cuts. Boom, they're out hitting that hole and they're gone. So you have to, when you move that pocket, you have to be able to collapse quickly. You cannot let them see the light of day. The quarterback, Zollers, I'm not necessarily sure how good he is because when you watch the Texas A&M game and you watch the Mississippi State game, Chris Mason, his touchdowns that came in the Mississippi State game were kind of just some plain old hitch routes that Mississippi State is a bad tackling team, and
And their
it just
gas tank's empty.
yeah,
Their
the gas
gas.
tank is just empty. I think they've had too many close games that have been let downs for them to the point where it is what it is this season. They still have a chance to be bowl eligible, I believe, but regardless, though, it's just one of those things where it's just like it kind of is what it is. But when you go to that Texas A&M game, don't get me wrong, they had a bit of success in the run game here and there, but for the most part, Texas A&M was able to collapse, keep Hardy in check, and then force. They pressured him. They pressured the hell out of Zollers, but they also forced him into predictable situations on those third and longs. And third and longs for him was anything third and four and after. But you got to think about it, guys. He's had 2 games to kind of settle in to play at home, but now he's about to have his first true road start potentially. So defense is pretty opportunistic. Good defense, and they can cause problems for you and cause havoc. You guys will hear this all on the breakdown, I'm sure. But when I look at that offense, I say, hey, they got 2 really good backs. But if you play assignment sound football and you're physical with that offensive line and you play assignment sound football on the back end, you should be perfectly fine. This is a game where you're like, hey, if R. Mason's 100%, play him. If Jaden Jackson's 100%, go ahead and play him. But I think you can get it done. Obviously, we'll get into all the offense
So,
talk and all the rest of that stuff on Thursday. But that's my first initial thoughts of Missouri. Chris Mason. I don't think it changes necessarily if Prbilla is back there because the thing is that can he run off of 3 weeks of having a dislocated ankle? Like, is he mobile enough? Can he get it done? Does he collapse if that happens? Right. So I don't think the game plan really changes all that much. Yeah, and Rob is saying this too. He doesn't think Bravilla isn't playing. I don't think he is either. But they've tried a little bit of gamesmanship that's been thrown out there. But regardless, though, I think you could get it done. Should be another good game. But this is the game. Both of these next two games, you need to go and punch these teams in the mouth early and go ahead and try to get this over with because you don't want to let not Tennessee, but Missouri just hang around.
Yeah, you want to get like a 10, 14 point lead on these guys, force them out of a conservative game plan, force a turnover, and cruise through the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that's what you want to do. I mean, the only thing I think is if Drink will look at the last two OU games and just play a very conservative game plan, right?
He's
gonna
have to.
He's just gonna run the ball even if it doesn't get him much, and just not put his quarterback in a position to get beaten up by a pass rush or throw a pick, and he's just going to try and he's not going to make any turnovers or any mistakes, right? Fair catch everything, run the ball, and try and get into a low-scoring rock fight into the fourth quarter and hope you can pull out some magic. So, and the way OU stops that strategy, put some points on the board.
Yep.
Offense put some points on the board and force them out of that shell. It's a lot like guys, I'm originally from England, so I watch lots of international soccer, right? Missouri's going to do the soccer equivalent of parking the bus. And you just have to break them out of that by putting some goals in and force them out of it. So that's what you got to do. They're going to play conservative on offense, and they're going to defensively, they'll have some good rush ends. Overall, I don't think they're as good as Alabama, especially in the back end. I don't think their secondary is any near as good as Alabama's secondary. So I think it would be a good day to unleash some passing plays and get the offense moving in the right direction that we need for the playoffs.
All right. People, look, we've been on here for damn near an hour. We gave you recruiting talk. We've given you a little Missouri spill. We talked about a lot of other stuff. Hell, we even talked about a little bit of the coach stuff. Shout out to our sponsor up here. As you can see in the right-hand corner, Kaizen Performance Gym here in Norman. If you're in the Norman area, in the greater OKC metro area, travel down. Go ahead, check it out. Tell Chris sent you. G-Fit and Romero down there doing great things as always. So shout out to our sponsor. But guys, like, subscribe, do all those different things. We will be back on Thursday. Chris Mason, go and check out his podcast. He's going to do another in-depth recruiting podcast on Wednesday. So definitely check us out. In the meantime,